so obefa so mampanyin John Dramani Mahama ene ne mampanyin a wodie no anim bebe nyam no wobehwe no waye no sapa na former defense minister Yera Dominic Nitu wono so na ebo amane yi wo se mampanyin de nioma yi ne ho no na presidential jet no wan fa nya adwuma ka se tomacho bi wo ho wo mo hwe asiesia anyame no kwasem ni wono no anya adwene kura na dom kuma ye wo ma Ghana ma hwe dwafie so ahyase ebo so buo bi wo se mampanyin John Dramani Mahama nei wabrichi section 4 clause 1 no a aya presidential office act ye was ye de adwuma na ye yasoafo no mampanyin nya no no de ye adwuma ye ono ankasa ne pem ene wo hyase a wode yasoafo wei ana nsema wodo pi ni wana no mere so ye sinkonyo don hwere ba kontam ya na nyina baba somo ye mfa seda amanyuma ko ye de so ye 21st clinic yesiateka expert to asentini kwana one mo hwe emfa mouth we herbal center what the 3 quarter capsules no asoya sene mizo ana 5G yada mo siensa dawo express group nie wose he na peso to kwakọ fabada wo mo e wobedom aboa kama yada mo live ko Facebook and asa YouTube no a aya no wasachi ye aya Sompa 93.1 afeya ba fontenta fidie no so www.sompaonline.com yansamo for den sam no akwakugo mo abenya bi no wakenkan anomre me baba som wo no medin ene akosia ejewa kwade boaten enye brana sam no yenchechimu aswafo makuma kunsia sebra yaka se won mo so afenam Jubilee House ya won mo so ya den sia kantam ade a kire se akwa bia so no nsuo mo awiamo wo mo behwe se Ghana foto nsafra mo nko ade a wo baba ba ya bidi aboa no asom se aswafo e wo ma Ghana emu ne nyina no yese nche bia na mampanyin John Dramani Mahama hyase se na aswafo wo no baba de dwuma makuma kwaduasia no wo bobodin na Dr. Keso to Forsen wono na baba show ma Ghana yesika samso ade amaye afe ekono atantre ne won sansam atone January no a Dr. Dominic ayene wono ana baba hwaso Yera John Ginapo baba show ma Ghana yenyina mahoden won ensamso ana fei enwomasua ye nei free senior high ni papi no ani wo hono Yera Harina Idrisu wono so akonesa eba ne nuane ne agriculture won sansam so a Yera Eric Opoku wono nyame ya domu a sebre ya worma so afene mo soye wo baba ye bi ede aboa Yera Kwame Agbaja wono akọ yakwanten pon won samso na sampanyufo ya wo muhia ama Ghana man prempren ya no ana won mo timi aso afene mo esoi efrida veteran committee for toto wo ma no ehunu wo muduro se wo metumi aye adwuma franchem na aboa ma ban ya wote so ani modempo ana dwumadi atumi akwankan ye no won mo je wo mutumu a ama mampanyini John Dramani Mahama so aye amamra ne amane ya mpanyimfo aso afene mo esoi na wo Jubilee House ya na won mu sai akere Ghana man se won be fa kwete kwa bia so na se kwa bia so na waboa ama o ma Ghana yatumi akwankan ye no mo yara sane ensoye ne sibikoi
holding the office of doing the name of the Almighty God swear that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall come to my knowledge in the discharge of my official duties, except as may be required for the discharge of my official duties or as may be specially permitted by law. So help me God. Congratulations.
So why ayabra na panyimfo nsia wan mo esai awo Jubilee House e mo ka hwe ne kokotie ye no na ebra wan mo so wie ye no na ho akwakọ hia pa sa mampanyini wan so akasa na ebra mampanyini John Dramani Mahama wo kasa no wo kyeresa eba no ma Ghana nyina mahode no a wo ma nyina di adanse asa ansa ne yakwakoto aba no na kane adundum ahyase a ama ne musu yie pa na we ne nyina no kokogina se abanya wo fra akonya so nche bia no anam se no wanim so obedi ntwonti wa hwempo so obebo mode bi na wo ma Ghana ya gas pipeline no Sani ya wonsa nsɛm asi bia kwakwan no bɛhwɛ no watoto nneɛma yie na nyame ncha de bere obɛtena akonya soe no watumi afa akɔneasa bia so amannei wɔma no nyina mahoɔden na ɛsan so ba bɛsɔre agyina so sani ɛbɛyɛ adomso no ɛtoɔ ɛbɛtumi atwa.
As you may all be aware, the previous government did not work to ensure the smooth running of the energy sector by neglecting to arrange enough fuel to power our thermal plants. This was important because of the noon scheduled maintenance work that was to take place on the West African gas pipeline, which is responsible for bringing in significant gas for the thermal plants that we have in our eastern enclave. Through determined efforts, I can report that we have now averted the looming threat of power outages. And began delivering fuel to the thermal plants in the east in advance of the shutdown of the West African gas pipeline. And Honorable General, I want to congratulate you for working very hard. Similar timely.
I was away among Panya John Dramani Mahaman Yaturn and Canon and what you know. Wasanso to us so ye ne wade kokobo ama na soafo one masof ne meso ne wo mbaba banyina sa ade a friend se kokoti ahantan menko na menim ye nte ne yebo me din sa soafo no wose saade no wompa bi atie kura sansemra bi atwam wo nipa bi mu ye bi ebre obobo bi mu din sa soafo no ebi mbaba ye kokoti ebehwere tena ne koso wi akire no na poma wo twa na baba sene ne tenten wose saade no wompa bi ate ewa na ban ye toso mienu mu nam so nti wabasere se wo mo bai wo mo fa ho brase anya adwuma no mo se Ghana fo na yi wo mo a wo mo do mo ho do ebe ye adwuma no.
Much needs to be done in so short a time, and I assure the people of Ghana that this government will rise to the challenge and will reset our country. As I pointed out during my inaugural speech, Ghanaians have through their votes declared their intention to demand the highest standards of governance, and we cannot afford to fail them. This naturally puts a burden of responsibility on us, which we must prove equal to. Ghanaians have shown that the days of tolerance for disrespectful gaslighting by government officials are well and truly over. They will take firm action as they deem fit to punish any administration that takes them for granted. I therefore charge you to serve in humility and candor, always remembering that we serve at the pleasure of the Ghanaian people and that the authority we exercise emanates from them. We must exhibit tolerance for their views and work to meet their aspirations. This government will not tolerate arrogance or disrespect for the people who elected us into office. Modesty and prudence must be the guiding principle upon which you, myself, and our Vice President fashion our governance. People of Ghana will hold us accountable for the trust that they have placed in our hands. It cannot be business as usual. We must be transparent and fair in all our dealings. The anti-corruption institutions will be empowered to investigate and deal with any appointee who falls foul of the law.
I was aware man Panya John Dramani Mahaman and no de kokobo amana sofa ne one ma sofa ne mu esai na man Panya Kasaria ya pano and my Ghana photo self for Dr. Kelso Toforsen one so baba kasa ye try se wada man Panya sepa se wanya wo mu gidi ne wapa wo mo se wo mo so mra me ye bi famwa e wona mamu mu na wo mo so ahyebo se akwa bia so mbefa so amana mamu no aye de aye nika na sa ya akono ene krabehwe no wobere so betumi afa so pa na wo mamu ka ba bia ya na ni nyina wa wotumi nka wa abra mai sika sam wo beka no wagya sansa dollar na bekosoro ne ade ne nyina sika sam eka ho se adwadefo beto wo mo afeso krampo no nuane ne ade wo ma ga ne ye beyi sika ne ye de akwakoto a ne nyina no foto samfo wotumi nka wa abra bekochi no nam so nchi no asodie kase da no so a wono so hyebo so obebi ade aboa.
We have been with you throughout your days in opposition. We have witnessed the misgovernance and misrule of the previous administration. We've learned, indeed, that Ghanaians will not tolerate such misgovernance any longer. We've taken a cue from what you've just told us. We want to assure you that we will serve and serve in such a way to make you the best president in the Fourth Republic. Mr. President, we are also aware of the state of the Ghanaian economy, the state of our energy sector, the state of our justice system, the agriculture sector, and indeed the education sector. We want to assure you that while
I was aware of my Ghana photo some for an attendant can Dr. Kesso at Forsen. Now, Sassy, I don't know, Papi, no, I shall see a tenant to the 1 month Sassaman Panini. John Dramani, my found a Ghana for can be on 1 year. Private jet and whatever in the Juma. Now, former defense minister, Ira Dominic, Nitu. One also nano atumbi atrasa nanwada. Mampanye John Dramani Mahama no kwa United Arab Emirates. Papa anya private jet and ano watimu afa. Eni 2 year kwa wabra. Presidential jet wo hwan ko betumi de adjuma aman waye yi. Wose na no wankwate nkwate a omse presidential jet no temacho kakra wo ho wanmo hwe asiesie ne mfomso bi kakra ye wo ho wabra de no ayi adjuma pa ya mampanyini betumi atenam aman waye yi. Namso nti panyipa yi ka sama mampanyini ntimi fa bibia anyi no hanu o eno ye ne sama mampanyini enti nioma ya ban de no wonfa anya adjuma.
The correct information. I'm not here to do propaganda. I'm not here to say anything about anybody. I'm just here to correct something that the Honorable Chief Whip made or said. Nothing more, nothing less. First of all, he said Akufo-Addo has not traveled on commercial aircraft. I want to say that President Akufo-Addo has traveled on numerous occasions on the same Emirates before. In fact, on some of the occasions, he went to Honorable Asenso. He's here. You can verify for him. I have the privilege as Minister for Defense to always be at the airport when the President is traveling. And your minister will do same. So I have the records. In fact, I am aware that the President has traveled to the UK numerous times on British Airways. We always have to be there between 10 and 11 for you to go. I'm aware that the President had to travel on Qatar Airways numerous times. So I'm just giving that information to Parliament and to the House. And for it to enter the hands that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has traveled on commercial aircraft several times, not once, and I've mentioned at least 3 airlines. Can I finish? The second thing I want to correct is that President Akufo-Addo has not rented any private jet to travel within the country. West Africa, yes. Outside West Africa, yes. But in the country, no. That is also not correct, because that's what you said, that is rented just traveling within the country. And Mama will not do that. It's not also true. The third one I want to state is that ever since we took that aircraft to France for it to be done properly, it took almost 6 months, about 6 months to 7 months for it to be fitted properly and brought back. President Akufo-Addo has been using it. In fact, even I think 2 days before he handed over, he used that aircraft. President Akufo-Addo has used that aircraft for the last 8 months. So it is not as if we were not using that aircraft and now we want President Mahama to use it. It's not a true story. President Akufo-Addo has been using it ever since it returned from France. That's the third point I want to make. And the last point I want to make and still make, which is the last point I want to make and still make, is that President Mahama, when that aircraft was not available, rented aircrafts, private jets, and used outside the country. Yes. Yes. I say yes, that I can say that for a fact. Ask him himself. Ask President Mahama himself. I'm saying you don't have the information, but you ask him himself. Ask him himself. He will tell you that yes, he did when he was president. So these are the 4 things I wanted to say. I'm not saying any controversial thing. I'm not bringing any new facts.
Former Defense Minister Ira Dominic Nitu no what you know, and a majority leader Dr. Kesso Forsen. One also sorry no so. Nitu na mampanyina semu a waka na so ntumi humi ya wo haha wani. Ade so kura mpomra wo komede ne kwaye. Enti asemu a waka no menti ase.
That President Akufo-Addo never traveled on private jet.
Never traveled commercial. Mr. Speaker, he's here. Mr. Speaker, again for the records. Right Honorable Speaker, again for the records. I traveled with the President Mahama, in his recent trip to the UAE. He did not use private jet. I was on the flight. I was on the flight with him. We used Emirates. So let no one criticise. And Mr. Speaker, the immediate past defense minister made a statement that President Mahama traveled on a private jet, rented a private jet. I challenge him to bring us evidence now. I challenge him to bring us evidence now. Mr. Speaker, you cannot just make statements without justifications. You can't. You can't. Bring us evidence to prove that he has traveled or rented a private jet. Mr. Speaker, the President Mahama was sworn in on the 7th. On the 7th. So you are saying when he was president, when? 2013. The Speaker, you see that he's changing the goalpost. You are changing the goalpost. You are changing the goalpost.
Arusona chasa samno akase pa omrashe dofia sanya ne ya sankra na yewra yi kan yo 2013 asamton na Dr. Keso to force and majority leader yo ma Ghana mrashe dofia ne yetese wono so muaye kakra wono wode emanu na dom kuma yo ma Ghana mrashe dofia ya wo mugina mu adema NPP amanyoko no na radua yi wono centralfo akasai e wo mrashe dofia na wono mo samu mo kanyina no kyerese Mampanya John Dramani Mahama appointment bia washasia waye no ene Presidential Office Act Section 4 Clause 1 no chase eni choka bia ase eya boabrani ade ne nyina ne yese wase cabinet secretary appointment a wodema ye no sani o ma Ghana ya mamara no hyehye se bibia ni a waso ne Council of State for dwene ho wo mususu ho ansa na appointment ne wode aba no mampanyina akasa firi ne dia mu eno ono waya de opacha se wotwe pan ya waso wanya bi wo se da bi no wasan no wode ato no wode ama wo saa baba pe na mampanyina hyase a waye no a wo modom kuma no wo mobo anyosuo na wakakwe central mrashe bedwani yera Patrick ya oboama wono na dom kuma na famu ogina wo mo na mu a wona nsemtwerefo edi ho nkomo.
What is the problem of the minority? In the spirit of our Constitution, Act 463 was enacted. That is the Presidential Office Act of 1993, one of the first acts that was established by the Parliament of Ghana to give effect to the functioning of the Office of the President. And let me read a long title of the act to you for the benefit of your reportage. An act to establish the presidential office to provide for staff for the president and vice president, to provide for their functions and for related purposes. I'll turn your attention to Section 4(1) of the Act. And with your kind permission, journalists and friends of the media, I'll read. The president shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint such persons as he considers necessary to hold office as presidential staff in the office. The interpretation section of the Act defines office to mean office of the president and vice president, and presidential staff to mean persons appointed under Section 4(1) of this Act. Section 4(1) states that the president shall appoint such officers in consultation with what? The Council of State. we as a minority believe that the president has acted in breach of this act or the provisions of Act 463. And we are requesting of the president to kindly withdraw this letter and act in consultation with the Council of State, which is not in place. At best, this letter could have been issued with a paragraph to state that these appointments are being made pending the composition of the Council of State and that they will be regularized in conformity with this act.
I was away a year, Patrick, ya woman, your tenant can walk out Central, Marcia Bejani. Na anai mampanya John Dramani Mahama na pamfo ya obobo mu die no eba na man kwadane asetena mu yedie nso a ma me ya wode sha nsa na momolate na wona nso akwa akopie mu appointment committee anim ya wo matoto na no ahwe ne muduru na ebre okoduru na nya semketo akora sanse ade afa no nkwada asetena mu yedie de aya na hu hia de modasani bia enam so nti ma me de atodwa ya wakere mu o sampampi no ano ya na ma no kwa wo so na wa mokokwo wo ani padodo anu a ho no mo a wo munya hawo ketenkete bi ya na nke ho behia se won mo tena fie kakra ya maternity leave no anke mutime twe na wo nia no wode hwe no ho yade wi akire kora no a ne ba no a wa won foforo no so no wotume nya ni bi de ahwe no na so nam se Ghana mamra ma ho kwan se maternity leave beko abosome miensa nti no wo ba no se ne ho ato no se ne ho akene se te sai abosome miensa ne nya so pe awo so sabo adwuma so wosasa ade na ya ade a edan akoma so pa se nyame ya domo a wobara no atwe akwa animu kakra se ne be ya 3 months no a yede ma no ye betumi de akoba sa boso men nan na se bibia tesa na ma batan no so wo mo hu atumi akene yi
of paid maternity leave. How will you advocate for the extension of maternity leave the current 3 months? Because we are all aware it's 3 months now. How do you intend to, and how do you plan to address the concerns from employers who may resist? Because I have a company, I don't intend to get women to go on 4 months, but that is in your manifesto. How do you intend to address that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think men were or are still advocating for paternal leave, and if it is important for them to take a break to support the family, then it is more important for women to have a prolonged period, not only to take care of the children, but to also properly heal. And so as an employer, I will encourage you that if you even have the opportunity to take care of 6 months, please do that. But there are other ways on a more serious note to do that. You know, creating daycare in the company that makes it child-friendly for the women to bring the kids there with a little support from the company or the organization so that they don't have to be worried. You know, psychologically, the woman can be present or physically present in the company, and yet the mind is at home. And so you can have her being there working for you, but to have the utmost output, it is better we make sure that there's holistic care. And so I will sit with all stakeholders. There are CSOs who are deep into it. There are lots of advocates. I will join them to look at what is best, ensure that we push it. And if Ghana and if the people of Ghana agrees to it, surely I will be the #1 champion.
Thank you very much. A follow-up.
Very well.
So are you intending to advocate for paternity leave?
I would love to advocate for that, but I also love beyond that to ensure that there are some measures to ensure that when the men take the paternity leave, they actually spend it with the family.
Abusia awe na momolate no yatene nkarwo no ababa hwama kodan ya setena mu yedi asugo ana na maternity leave no wo kan ho asemtie ne emenye omo chafa no na mema no so mu nyamode na we no nya sai chekasem yesefa ko hwo yere e wo fie ane abusia ya to so na mame Elizabeth Ofosuo jare wono ana kwa kwhwa adwadie ne mfirinyuma won samso wono zo bro kopie mu appointment committee no anim wo no wode atodwa a trese Komenda Sugar Factory no ene nneɛma pii no ato api ewom chichiriwo ne akade ahodo a wɔn behia afrenso kura mpo no ahwede ne nneɛma ahodo bi a wɔn betumi anyanya na afei ɛsikyire ne yanye ne moho ɛde abɛdwa maso no ɛno na akwakoyɛ den ɛde ama wɔn nanso bibia nso nyame yɛ adom no babɛtena akonya so a obey na fam de bia sɛ ne bɛyɛ Komenda Sugar Factory no so ɛbɛsɛ gyina ne naso biem na afei ɔmayɛ sikyire soronko a yɛhia no yensa asanso akabio.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. White elephant is duly taken away. I have walked quickly through the ministry by a briefing I received about Komenda Sugar Factory. I've been told that as we speak, it is not operational. And one of the major challenges the factory has suffered was the lack of raw material to feed that industry and some missing parts. I've also been told that monies were released to solve these problems. And the total health of the factory should be done after an evaluation. And so I will work to ensure that we know the actual health of the factory. But it's obvious that we need that factory to work for the benefit of Ghanaians because we are importing about $500,000 worth of sugar into this country. And so once I take office...
Na anu no wamana nso wa eba no nkrofo mama nso moa ana se omo de obosika botene baba so ma Ghana yadwadie mu nso no wakasa kakrofa ho no kire so oman no ye wadwuma ye pa na akwakoba no se yi a wono so akwakwa ye oba no yenim se ma de eba no nioma pinu amu a aya no mo tanya mu akwanya nya mu chefa na nso nti no wobefa kwa bia so awurawuram se na be nkrofo mama nso wo mo sika na wobetumi de omo sika botene na baba so ma Ghana enwuma hodo mu na atimi adore ya mama buranya biaye no woba na sa ama enwuma atumi abu ewo mayi mu.
Thank you very much for the question, Honorable Chair. Yes, it is right that we need to do the right things to have access to international markets. And so there will be conscious efforts with the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that approved chemicals are used, because at the end of the day, it will be detected. And if you work so hard and your produce and products do not land at the international protection and children and social protection to ensure that the issue of child labor is addressed. As for standardization, we need to up our game as a country. Sometimes lack of knowledge, and so if we do capacity building, we should be able to fall within the standards. When all these things are done right, our exports will go up, the intended revenues will be received, and then at the end of the day, we will have a stabilized economy. Thank you.
I was sure why I am your Baba Sa at the Afahu and a chamber of local governance. And a chamber of local governance. Panipayo Tinania Wadano, Yera Richard, Fiamador Adnanoa Tumua. Watch her say, how, Jenny? So, I want to say, I'm more appointment, and I don't just say, I want me near Juma Nasan and Sa. And to me so na ya nyina ka won say appointment no amampanini wa sha se a warrior no won na sha ne bo wa say ma akoma kwaduosia pe enu obetumi wa sha se a warrior no won na sha ne bo wa say ma akoma kwaduosia pe enu obetumi entinya ba bia enu obetumi ayi nipa de afri se wonia no ma ma ye adwuma ba bia enu obetumi ayi nipa de afri se wonia no ma ma ye adwuma afenso wa karehwa nipa ni muduro na kokoduro sene setie ana sene obesi bia boa na ban se bia fa ento mbasere wo mo ma sha ase a wo mo ye hurukasem asasa nneoma wo ma gane mu no wo mo to mbo ase ansa anya sa ba bia mra ne da no e wo sa posi for hwe no wode to
ye bese o mo ja bo trust so o mo yesa ene na o mo ne Ghana nyina to aba ene se boli de shia ono na be se o bi se wo ma pini se bi any minister why na position e mo it is all the man pini only for the man pini no ka say I always dia yeshika nyina so die road only no de bako no de see Ghana dia yeshika nyina so die road only no de bako no de see Ghana nyina it is enne omuni minister kran omenya development no mo kra ko de o ma lucky o ma penye o tia kunya so e de bole dis year na omode ne ba ya nyina ko to abama nti no onka o ma penye de kan to make associate minister it is o ma penye minister MP share of the common fund grant. The chief executive. The MP na kaso. MP school diamond and Mufanya Guatemala. Can go to the bottom. They should be grateful to Ghanaians.
Like sciatica expert. Wopa baby ba ko pe no akwa show sciatica yade no. Na wo mpomo wa tenetene no mpedompe wa ye ho adwuma ma jasa nampa betwea ho a. Ayo 21st in China was so cool. Nipadua na enyini no na apo ba ho. Eni ti yare de. Dana da nyina kan ya ho. Eno ti na was 7 mezo ana 5G so yada mo ase en sada madam romantie nei nipa pi no asase a wo magode pineapple ene de kaka ho nyina ebi wom abuso nya bi e babua kwa Overseas Junction manager Daniel jumafo kabomukuo won ma hyase a wo bokoko bi
21st clinic aye sciatica expert sciatica no o nerves na wo to ase na fa wo siremu never will not see all
the processes leading to the top provide a valuable insight and therefore public trust in top and the government's commitment to transparency and good governance. Finally, we would like to make relevant documentation to the office of the president concerning the above mentioned issues and requests us a working leader to facilitate your inquiry. The PTPC government is also ready to assist inquiries with provide a valuable insight and therefore public trust in top and the government's commitment to transparency and good governance. Finally, we would like to make a clear call to the president that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, as indicated earlier by the Indian Congress, to order the Ghana Police Service to arrest the perpetrators of acts who invaded and destroyed state properties, especially at the petroleum and the energy sector institutions such as Green Power Authority, Ghana Gas, BOF, TOR, MOT, to attack innocent staff without any cause. The president that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama
ewo honom ana kan obi amasuna for north adosia wo mo pipi amanyoko num anso so de ato dwa twa sa ne o ma no wekoso no seven producer wo mo tena se nyenhwe han se toaso na ban no wan hwe ampa ho asem anka anya de amaburu no wo so betena se no wo so betena se no de wani ahwe ne saa na yankwa o ma no so na ya ne yewura kwabi ni ma komensa wo communication officer adema NPP amanyoko no awo Broni bana na meka sei yero amaju ajo abusia ya bomodan sa yensa beka yero akobi ni mako mensa awa homa no so wono ayo communication officer adema NPP amanyoko no awa suna for north abato empeso so na fei yemisa na sa aso north abato empeso so na fei yemisa na sa aso yero awotena nka amaju ai
hello
Abanye kasi awotena nka amaju ayero kwabi wotena nka official panso ajo Ora no ntame nkan ye boy homoden sa yansa abeka ye rokwabi ne ma komensa wa homa no so na ye ne no adi enkomo sansane yatete free ayesu na for north abato ampaso so no enye ne kakra samabu ne bi ya wo mo ye ndisi for dem rasha won mo nsam a wo mo hwe se wo mo no maban abanam so nti yenya wo mo na hwe se kure wo mo ntam wo mo bo wo mo sasa japade wa bro bi ya entumi nya obi ahwe ya kwa ma no so ne yansa no pa yekese akodi enkomo yero majoa Sompa so nie.
Hello.
Yero de makote benka majoa. I was say yansa beka ne biem. Na Alhaji Kasim pai sebre ya ye kasai wano so ayabi ade aboa ya enei wawasa so mikrofono wano ana yade basha ne nsa no ahatoto nioma se MC hono na enam so mapanyipai ade atodwa atrose enei se wo hwemo pa no a eba ne nwoma sua honedie ana nioma hodo ye kaka ho apomudin a wabere mu ye papa ye obetuma ye bidi aboa yansa kwai na ne yera kwabi ni ma komensa enkodi nkomo yera majoa Sompa so nie.
Me jimuso.
Na nioma mboko de.
O nyame na mo mpa ebo bibi e koso boko.
Asedan kanyame. Ayate samabro bia.
Na ya tia motifo ne mahwefo sabre obi bia waje bra oti mu. Ya tia obi bia. Na no kre se NDC for mabunu bia yesutu se ai nim bi se o me NDC for. Ye to abawie ye bro nya boso me de to so nson. They said December 7th no. Almost started say almost did ajapade ene vehicles a omo adwin wo mususu se eye aban vehicles. Na ye di kan 7th December anajo. Ye to abawie ya college na eguso e course was na for no voice near high school. In fact party ya MPP party ka I conference secretary friend owu apataka ya ma use no. Say omo susu se ka na aban de. Eno achi almost abeyere the deputy regional youth organizer. And so I have deputy regional youth organizer eje ne car e wo go so abonten so. Say o ma din say eye aban car. I dey to en car bi sebu. The constituency chairman I friend of Franco so Fike I born some na say chemicals. As you know for no NDP constituency chairman. Owo eye toilet facility e wo ni krom emem o dey adwuma egiska obi e ban dia. In fact, enumpo de parliamentary candidate and I say nipa ya to aba yi ne foforo metre NDC MP a ware na election Owura Haruna Mohammed Efrem ita ye nsunu kwa na anu ye na no memenda nyame adom na dan kwa akufo ado echa astrotef asunafo no oma emienu ba ko omem na ba ko ogoso na omampani wie astrotef no na anu ye to aba wie ya na MP a wolusu a woti fiesisi meche owura imaso kokubo bie e commission astrotef no na no kra omni se abansi hospital or the hospital no emma Ghana Health Service and abansi sports facilities any sports infrastructure so from National Sports Authority it's a commission astrotef no dane in astrotef no dey say National Sports Authority omo asu half regional capital no omo mpani for wa ha dane she omo nsa na arewo sem ne say na no memenda NDC for mabuni akọ safo da park no so no omo the store blade akotwa safo no e de omo de atum ade echi kwasi ada enkola ebebo ball ho any keep fit for IBA games ho no omo charge omo 1200 cedis per game and sa no omo pie safo ne de omo na mrante na ekwaje park no nkasa yimu no omo sesu se park no e generate sika omo so aban na aba nti o so omo ba no mba gigi sika no omo so di se ompoto
o sa sika no a omo ka se omo jeje no anyambia won mo kire ne pa ko a wasoma wo mu na ba bia sa sika no mu wi omo de beko
in fact ye nimrante ekwaje park no se omo ye NDC mabunu na omo kasa yimu no omo aban na aba nti omo so be di park na ho eti mi di pe omo na ya bokoko aba amane se sa ne won na omo ye no enye sisi a wo ya MPP ni na ibi wo motorbike na to kwa mabunu timi sia wo ni ayere wo ni age adan ya aban na aba efuse ya aban moto enno a awe ho sem ni se GIZ adwumakuo NGO omo any disabled for Ghana Disabled Association for Cambo. Ono ma say bi omo di dem. Omo che omo nneoma ene getri kakra omo never start here omo adwuma. Enra ena GIZ for be do ye. Omo di try adwuma no NGO for enya aban. NDC mabuni etimi kwoto say GIZ for so. Say adenti no ma mesi omo so amfa ne wana amre omo. Omo distracted the whole process enra omo ntumi endi omo dwuma GIZ for so say akan tam say ni titru ni MP aya to abayi no Owura Haruna Mohammed kwedi bi na ebi akọ amamampani aya to abayi no anamampani a wasan a wote so tie papa no
Samoso mo de mo na abesi form wana.
In fact your former member of parliament Owura Ibansopoku Bobie yele na di nkomo wo se ona
Pempe so ba no amotweme ni aposifo di ho nkomo anama ya adwene besa bia andi simpanyifo a ewo ho no mo mbayi won ma so kire sane yese panyin due matemante
le ba cho ye tu anamon akọ ndisi fo mpanifo so iva do mo chama nyina ya bo mama ne afei yasa akọ boss so district police commander ho e di atu nanim Owura commander biam dan so awe onu pokwa de kwasi ada no bo ba park ne so any boys ni bi be kasa ese nka e be ya omo na ne sakwa ne mfama commander enso so ya ba wani tia NDC for mabunu wa prim na koma se obeye bibi na o sa su se na aban na aba so no de na aban na aba no emra de mra pa de onye na so de be ya adwuma enye na so de be ya adwuma enti besin na aye kasa sakwa ne da so mabunu no wa omo mfa enti besin na aye kasa sakwa ne da so mabunu no wa omo mfa sakwa no enkoma National Sports Authority for Penifo
yanim sa oma Ghana mu mra wo mu pa ya de mra ya adwuma amfa woni amanyoko ye teso akwakwa ba ne sei no mo sigina ya bi Samoso mo de mo na abesi form wana.
In fact your former member of parliament Owura Ibansopoku Bobie yele na di nkomo nko ya Owura Ibansopoku Bobie yele na di nkomo nko ya ebe free ebi Adesso regional police commander ho na mo nto bi o si etu na ye disappoint no e de man National Sports Authority for sanse se park no ho to tema enye ndisi mabunu e na e ba be hyehyɛ sempo senka park ni wieye e na nka wo se ye de hye political party nsa bidi ye senka people for na ye e na nka ye mum ne be kwa kwotso no ya giska na so nam se ye abaya japade nti e na ye de ama National Sports Authority nti anam so aye tu e gidi ye se ye betimi age sapora no so e de ama National Sports Authority
yo asan ye waka no no ye twan kwapem fiada sanse what chiri ande na kasa ye no we communication officer de ma NPP amanyoko no ewo asunafo north abato empeso so ya to ansam no so na Alhaji Kasim wa constituency organizer ewo Swami NDC amanyoko ne dimu sebre panyipe wo hwase bobo ne din sa MCE ewo Swami no no so ninim dia wodo wo adefa ne nwomesua pomuden ane ahonede won nsam so no wode ababaye bi aboa na panyipai wono so akasa ya wo kyerkyere mu se nyame no kwa no a de na mafo hwe biata o monsa ebetumi akanesa
entuntu ebi ne say ebi ne sanitation education and health the thematic areas the person me ba bemboa so me ya family Alhaji Kasim me a long serving organizer I was so yes me dia wa from party for no so nim dia metimi aye ene dia ma aye ti me wura mu na omuni me dada empemfo a tip vetting no fi na omuni me dada ene omuni ma dwuma ma ya aboa party no ti akonwe ba na me call mani ma omuni me dia metimi aye ti support no ti vetting no em say anko ani mo bia ba ku me nu me so mo bisa ene me tu
Abusiana no achi no Anna Swami NDC party secretary Yero Benjamin Mafo won so kakra etoaso.
The Edikano, the vetting is transparent because they have allowed everybody who wish to become DC the opportunity to come. They have allowed it. They've given everybody opportunity. Said they will see carry on the amount. We need the thing as a man penny. And some number me will give you say, you made the Diama, so mind it. And your man says out. say me say man so your problem miensa ye mention me mention first one a kwan, second one a kwan, third one a kwan.
I was aware Andy Siamanyoko Party Secretary Yawano Awaswame Yura Benjamin Mafoni and Nekasai no fair concept from Yakoko Yawa SD Asafumuna Ashanti Central Ghana Conference the ma SD Asafono woman so atrapa se wiasim we nyam Sompa free one ma huni die na wo hono nam so nte wo ntena sore da mo nko a no onye presim ombesia bia no wo metwa yiri nyina ade free honom na ebre wote si monten so ya sajmedie sonko wo fato wo ho so no assembly member ya wo etia electoral area eno was Secretary East manseni mu Honorable Ernest Atadru one so abon nsam shira pa ade ama Ashanti Central Ghana Conference of SDA actually say nyame anim ni one match asafo no one tinyamesom ase na wode nyamesom enso ayi adwuma wose ne wo hwan sore dodo no ano a ensore de na one matete edu kwase da wodware ahyepe ya wote aso de maso ejisa asafo no timi ayi asi ho se wo mde wo mbabo afode ama hunidi a na se sefata se yebo wo nso abaso
se ode de ya che ene di dakese e de makwa ko nyina titu obada de ase district ye of Moses ene ma so mpani ko ni asafo manyina ne se eye 10 years a ye di